Greetings, greetings, my fellow wanderers in the cosmos and madness of this universe. It is I, the Goat Dude. I have played games and tabletop games, and it's time to talk about them. Also, hope everyone else this week has been doing well. Uh, so yeah, welcome all of the peoples to the streams, or the people who are going to be coming to the streams. I don't know. At the moment, I think I only have about one viewer. I don't. Wait, how can I check that on OBS? Stream drops live stream. Don't think that tells me that on OBS. Okay, I guess my phone is dead because I forgot to charge it. So yeah, but tabletop games and remembering what certain things do on what platforms and what thing. Oh, I'm doing the thing again. There we go. The hell do I do this on? There we go. I can check what the thing is or whatever. Yes. But yay. I hope everybody had a good week. This week was weird. I would best describe it as flip floppy. This is the first technical full week of this year, I think. Right? Yeah. So this is the first full week of this year. So going out of last year, all the nonsense, getting sick, and then craziness, life, and existence. But yeah, first full week, we all got through it. We all got through it, everybody. So always give yourself on a pat on the back. You already worked so far, so good, and so much more to do. So you're rocking and rolling. But yeah, I guess I'll get to chit chatting as people come in. But yeah, this week was fitty because I got on the ball with work stuff, getting those commissions, working on that. I got a couple of ones of them done. Did a cool. I actually what was really cool is I got a couple Battletech commissions now. So that was super neat. Just to because it's very different instead of the like NSFW content I normally end up drawing, or the pin-uppy stuff or whatnot. So just getting to draw a mech was just very different, very fun. Cause I mean, like, oh, can I grab myself? Look at that thing. Oh no, I'm behind it. How do I get you? I must use magic wizardry to put myself on top. I am the top king. But yeah, just look at that. Look at how cool that fucking thing looks. You got a little space dude, got big old lasers, got another guy trying to shoot the guys below his feet, got another guy over here jumping and shooting. Just cool. Giant robots are cool. And this is why Battletech is cool. That and the fact that it's cheap as fuck. Well, not cheap as fuck. I mean, there probably are cheaper tabletop games, but in terms of like just economy of expenditures compared to like something like Warhammer, where it's like $60 for 5 models sometimes, or like all this stuff, and then you have to pay on top of the rule books, the actual books for your specific faction, and all these other things. Like it makes it such a hassle. And the rule books are fucking huge. Like, I think like the Space Marine one is like almost as thick as like a torso of one of the miniatures itself. It's like a dense fucking tome. And then you have the normal rule books, like it's huge as shit. So it's a bit of a hard parse. Battletech a little bit easier. You got two forms. You got the more what after doing a test game ironically enough today, and also having heard memes, is basically spreadsheets the tabletop game, and it's not wrong because it's a lot of checking tables, a lot of doing some bits of math to accrue what you've done, um, and like it definitely has a bit of a like a longevity thing. Like it's definitely like a bit of a slower pace with all that, or at least again going off a test game. It's strange. but very, very like you can definitely get into it if you like you enjoy simulation stuff or like kind of deep in their RPGs. I definitely can see why I initially heard like how uh the big thing that like kept it going was just its sheer like RPG-ness, like the storytelling potential where like, oh yeah, this is our adventure, these are our corps, this is our mercenary dude, they go off and fight things, and whatnot. But yeah, I guess I should also do a primer because I'm just talking about things. Like Battletech is like this tabletop war game that's been around since the 80s. Uh, and as you can see, and as I mentioned, it's about giant robots because fucking giant robots are awesome. Because giant robots. But it's a bit on the more realistic air quotes, but I can't move my arms, so no air quotes physically, but like in the verbal absence, air quotes on um like the sides of like your realistic and your super robots. Like it's more akin to like Gundam and ironically enough Macross, which it has a complicated legal history to because they bought some designs, they utilized them, then it turns out that they technically didn't have the rights to the designs, or maybe they didn't, and it was a whole legal shenanigans with Harmony Gold, people who own the Robotech license and have the use of all the Macross stuff outside of Japan, I believe is what the thingamabob is. Um, but essentially, like they ended up having to like go to court, and eventually it was settled. Like I think a couple of years back after a whole lot of nonsense. Um, and I forget what I was talking about. Uh, Tabletop game. Yes, it's been around since the 80s. It recently, like I think in 2018 or 16 or 18, I'm not sure. I don't remember. I wasn't in it when the Kickstarter happened, but they did a Kickstarter. They relaunched a whole lot of stuff, put a whole bunch of new minis out that are like plastic versions of all the mechs and stuff, and released like a new box set, a starter box, and they did an expansion pack, and they got all these kind of new miniatures coming out. Got some new books, re-releasing old books. I haven't yet gotten a handle on like the fiction of the world yet, but it's kind of like the one book I have, ironically enough, is probably like the worst one to just be as your first book because it's during this age where most of the mainline players, it seems, have kind of been either substantially changed, don't exist in the same form they tended to in all the other sections of it, and is like also considered one of the worst points in the game's history because at that time, they got bought out by WizKids. They got the license or something because they used to be owned by Tops, who was the people who made like the Garbage Pail Kid cards games, and so they then handed the license to WizKids. They produced a separate line that was completely different from the old game, doing like HeroClix stuff. So that's like the little Marvel or DC things you have. I've never played HeroClix. I have a couple of figures from back when I worked at a comic book store. Um, but I never really got around to playing the game. I was initially going to do it because it was just around and I could use like a bunch of X-Men figures. But because of how all that ended, I have no idea if I'm going to try it out at some point. But they had that. I actually have a couple of the HeroClix things. I was like, oh, I'll grab them up and check them out because big stompy robot figures are cool to have around your desk and stuff because robots are cool. This is a fact. I literally streamed a robot game when I first started streaming, so yeah. So after that whole thing, that kind of split the thing. Some people apparently have said uh, they changed it to Mech Warrior Dark Age, and so that people say it was fun in the same way like HeroClix and stuff is. Other people were like, no, it's not BattleTech and whatnot. And so apparently that happened. They did that all that. The RPG thing apparently stayed around long enough for it to keep a kind of a cult following for a time, and then way into the now times, we got the modern iteration, which is uh, basically these a couple of box sets after a Kickstarter, some boxes with miniatures, and it's all good. except for the fact that you can't find any of the dang miniatures. They apparently misjudged, I guess, how much interest everything was going to be. So a lot of the stuff is hard to come by, except for like the starter box, which I'll get into why that's actually a fucking amazing starter box in terms of like just economy and bang for your buck and not having to spend a metric fuck ton to try a game. Uh, but yeah, so like it's just hard to find stuff. I have a couple of miniatures and whatnot packs that I found, but like most of the time now, if I'm looking at a miniature store and I see them, I'll probably end up going for them because unlike Warhammer, where it's like $60 for a freaking miniature pack for like 4 or 5 miniatures, it's like $20 to $30 for like already assembled. They're already on bases, so that cuts down on a bit. The sculpts are like really nice. They all look really cool. Um, they've kind of avoided this one problem that I have seen in the video game adaptation, like at least the modern ones, of like Mech Warrior and the Pear Schemes Battletech game, which I think I streamed a little bit of. So I don't know if I have any of those VODs up, but like they kind of went super hard in on the realism aspect, and it kind of ends up making most of the mechs look, at least certain uh, designs, do not translate well into that. Because a lot of the designs were goofy as fuck. Like a lot of them were like old, like goofy, like it's a dude, but he's got an awkward stance, or a big bulbous eyeball head, or something. And they don't have any of the cartooning that would make it more nominal, I guess. Because I would best describe the art style of BattleTech to be kind of akin to uh, like a realistic comic from the 80s. So like a bit of cartooning, a bit of exaggeration, but a lot more like shading and whatnot that would be involved to kind of give it a look. So it's like kind of exaggerated. It's got that like sort of feel to it, I guess, is the best uh, roundabout way of describing it would be. But from there, they had the Kickstarter thing that I mentioned and put all this out. And the miniatures themselves have these amazing designs that I think like balance out like the let's be a bit more modern in our designs, but still have that bit of kind of exaggeration or fun to the designs that keeps them interesting. It also makes them fun to paint. Like that's a big fun thing. Is the painting on those things is very fun. I think also because it's cheaper, it's a bit easier on like I want to just try out something random from a color scheme or whatnot. But that just might be me because I like just painting different things every time. But yeah, it's super fun checking and getting into that. I have a couple of games. I have like one of the older Mech Warriors that's like online as abandonware download. I want to stream it at some point, but also need to get used to the controls a bit, and also I need to decide on my other day I'm going to try and stream and whatnot. But yeah, so basically this is all just a roundabout way of explaining like why I went to a tabletop game store recently and played a game and had a bunch of fun time. Like I bought the box sets like compared to like a lot of other games I've seen like super economically. It goes $20 for a starter set, gets you a whole bunch of stuff and some starter rules. Then just $40 for a big ass box set that gets you a shit ton. You get a good chunk of miniatures, maps, rules, all this kind of fun shit, and even a short story. That was the coolest thing I think that I can say about those box sets is that they come with cool little short stories, um, that kind of get you in the feel of everything. The first two boxes, like the starter box and the Game of Armored Combat box, have these two really fun stories that go together. It's like I think Colby's Commandos. It's like a little mercenary group dealing with some people on a far off world that's got like a mining thing going on, and it's like, oh, here's a slight implication of politics of like what's going on with this plan, why are these mercenaries doing this, and all kinds of funsies, and it's just really well written. The one in the Clan Invasion box set, which is like this expansion that adds in these other mechs and some like lore info about this force that comes in and invades, um, is apparently people are blasting movie stuff, so hopefully that doesn't pick up on my stream. It probably will, but hopefully not. Because the family forgets sometimes. But oh well, I'm trying to be chill. This is meant to be a relaxing thing. But yeah, the story in that one's kind of weak, as it's not really. It doesn't feel like it's an introduction to these invaders or people in their kind of like culture, because they have like a whole like it's imagine if like you had like Starship Troopers peoples who are like all fighting each other like but like mixed in with like more variations of factions and less like super overt fascism sometimes. There's still a lot of that, but like you have like oh hey here's a like a okay, like a royalty thing or a kind of warrior like a samurai honor code thing, but also like not like super hamstrung about that. Or I think it's an economic like powerhouse thing one, so like a capitalist super heavy on that. I don't know. I'm still figuring out the lore, and this is also super productive, but like yeah, broad strokes and shit. Who are then invaded by like people who are all like imagine like Warhammer 40k people like we are honor, we are like bound by our rules and such things and everything and whatnot. Who are like super soldiers and shit, and how that kind of affected everything. So it's like imagine you have like a hard SF novel series, then get invaded by like a small number of like space marines and shit, but kind of more skewing like why they don't really work in terms of like hard or like like military-ish fiction instead of like science fantasy. I guess that's how I put it, or at least just what I've observed and what's kind of neat about the story in the setting. Um, but yeah, all the box sets are super cheap. Just outside of the Clan Invasion one, you can find the other two usually at like Barnes and Nobles, because like bigger retailers more likely to have it. But I think the Clan one is starting to pop up at other places. Like this one tabletop place that is basically just more like a huge fuck off like store place you can buy everything from. Has a couple of boxes, so I assume those are more getting out there. It's just the individual miniature packs and like the physical rule books that is the hard to find thing. But now, after all that explanation about like 15 or 20 minutes, I guess, 'cause it's 24, I don't know how long I wait, but probably like 10, 15 minutes of just me rambling on and on about, oh yeah, this is this, then tangents, tangents, and more tangents. I'm going to talk about what it was like to play the game. Okay, no, that needs to go. Which ones? Yes, there we go. So these are some miniatures I painted, so you can see the cool robotness. So you can see how that compares to that. It's kind of cool thing. I did technically like the big red one is based off of a tutorial that I watched from a guy called Duncan Rhodes, who is like a painter wizard. He's like, I will show you the ancient rites and teach you how to not be Garbo. And that was really fun. I followed along that, used a new paint I bought, and tried all that and did all that. And then I applied the same kind of uh, logic to this green guy over here, who I actually based his color scheme off of Waspinator from Beast Wars. So if you're like a Transformers fan, like that's gonna be super cool because I love Beast Wars, and I was like, oh dude, I should do that. So I'm gonna try and do like more uh, color scheme experimentations where I just do that. But yeah, these are the two miniatures that I was really happy with. Took with me. I took like a most of mine, but the vast majority of my Battletech stuff is unpainted. As I keep like I'm like trying to decide of like what color scheme do I want to do? I don't want to do like just a whole big army thing. I want to do individual coolnesses. So I'm just working my way through that. But yeah, I took all of them. People really love these. Like one guy came over and was like checking them out and was like, dude, these are amazing. We ended up talking for a good bit, but he basically said like, if you ever do like commission painting, tell me because I'd love to get some of your stuff done. And I was like, that was super cool because like I'm doing this primarily just to, it means to get away and not do art, but it was super cool to hear somebody compliment your stuff because the vast majority of my work doesn't really get a whole lot of comments. But when I do, it just always feels nice. So even with the mini stuff, which is arguably I think the thing that gets the most comments, I want to say, at least on Twitter. My mini stuff always gets a lot of draws compared to my own artwork. Uh, but from there, I can explain that look at those bases. They aren't round. As you see, most tabletop games have round bases. These are superior angular ones. Just like my horns were very angular and sharp and perpendicular and wait, the fuck does perpendicular? Ignore what I said. That might be stupid. But yes, hexagonal bases for a object. Hexagonal video game or the board game. Yes, yes, that is what I'm saying. So this is basically what the game traditionally is played like. You get like a bunch of like a board with hexes on it, and you have like dice set next to it that basically is meant to tell you, oh yeah, this one moved, and also whatever its modifier is, because the game's like full of spreadsheet stuff. Even less so in the Alpha Strike version, because Alpha Strike is the more simpler, like easier going one, which is what I played at the tabletop store, because they were doing this thing where they're doing a campaign. So I joined in and like I just signed up. I literally I made my character basically a mechanic who does not know anything about piloting a mech, and they just shoved him in there to have someone shooting something. So basically, the idea was we're a joint mercenary company to deal with like people who were defeated and told to not do stupid shit through uh, treaties and stuff, but they refused to not stop doing the thing. So we're going in and fucking them up. We gotta stop those dudes, essentially. And I came in. They were basically doing a like an arena battle, like to say, hey, you guys gotta. If we beat you, we get the thing and get some stuff and whatnot. Which that was super freaking interesting and weird because like we end up like doing pretty well. We get a couple of guys down, and then our two heavy hitters, because I was piloting this small boy over here, this big green and yellow one, who is a tiny boy with only 4 hit points basically and one gun. Um, the one benefit was is basically if I have line of sight of something, people can then use that line of sight to shoot stuff. But yeah, I basically we have most of our dudes going. We lose. We take out one of their guys easy first. Then they pretty much start hammering us. We take out another one of their guys. But in the same turn, they take out one of our guys. Then our other guy kills another one, but also kills himself in the process. So it's me and this one other mech, and in the one last mech is a big McHuge boy. He's like a huge tanky boy with a bunch of HP who's only had like I think 3 hits on him at the time. So I basically run in trying to be in like the least line of sight area, but we don't win the initiative, and so we have to move first, and then they can move, and like they just destroy me. So I get like my one shot, the one time in the entire game, where I actually am able to actually hit something because the entire game I have been rolling and I just miss. And I've been rolling with the joke my character's name was Jenkins, and everybody was laughing at it because it's like he don't know what he's doing. So it was super fun, and I'm playing into the fact that I'm new and just kind of getting a hand of it, and rolling like garbage. But it was a lot of fun. Um, so like I try to hit and I go, oh, I hit something, and I get 1 pip of damage off him, and then I just get stomped on by this giant, huge mech. Uh, and with Battletech, because you have your pilot and we're playing a campaign, like I had to roll to see if I survived it, and I didn't eject, so I'm stuck in there, and I don't know if I've died yet. Because after the game, you have to roll to see if your pilot survives. And so then we have this whole prolonged back and forth with our last dude who's got like another light mech, but he's got a bit more health and a bit more guns, trying to do some stuff. But we end up losing. Um, all Almost all of us have fallen, so we have to do a roll. Two people get themselves okayed. I roll, I survive. Another guy rolls, he dies. So the new guy lives, while another guy who had been there for a couple games dies and has to make a new character and whatnot. So It was a bit funny on that end, but it was very fun. After that, we played a game where it was like, oh yeah, this is a simulator thing. You're training and doing all kinds of stuff. Because the guy who'd been doing the campaign thing, he had to go deal with like stuff in the store. Because he was a guy who I think he owns the store, or it might have been one of the managers or something. I'm not sure. Uh, he was a nice dude. I think I was a little awkward. I had to just gauge the vibe, and you're just a bit nervous when you're coming in and you meet new people. Which was ironic because it turns out that someone I knew from high school, or as an acquaintance primarily, was there. So I ended up like meeting them, talking a little bit. It was fun playing with them. Them giving me the ropes and explaining everything. Then we played a game where it was like a King of the Hill thing. I had some miniatures that I wanted to try out, so I took the two biggest things I had. I had one that's basically this unit called a rifleman, where it's got two big like robot blasty arms, and another one called the Annihilator, which is like a giant Cylon-esque thing that has two gigantic guns and can shoot like 10 shots, which is a lot for this game, like a lot. Welcome to the stream, Zach, and no, regrettably, but that would have been hilarious if someone had the name Hank as their character. Oh my god, that would have been funny. Um, but yeah, also welcome to the stream. Uh, I'm just blathering about how it was to play a tabletop game recently. Um, I went on a whole tangent about explaining what the board game was, but I'll do a quick summation because I don't know if you was here. But yeah, so basically, I was playing a game called what's the Battletech, which is about big stompy robots like these that fight each other in space and involve like War of the Roses slash Game of Thrones style politics, but with military factions and still involving like kings, empresses, and all that stuff. And uh, the actual miniatures of the games look like this, and I painted these up, and they looked super cool and awesome. And I played them in the thing. And the actual game itself looks like this if you're playing the classical version with all these hexes, which you then move through the hexes, and then the modernized version you use inches and stuff. But basically, I was new. I made a character who basically knew nothing about piloting a mech in the campaign we were playing, and it was all good fun times in this arena battle we had where stuff happened. And then we played basically a simulator game, was what I was getting towards, where um, it was King of the Hill, and I put on the huge, big stompy mechs. The only problem with the Annihilator, the biggest, hugest, blastiest mech, was it could only move 4 inches. So all the other mechs can move a lot more than that. Everyone else's mechs they chose were like more mobile. So the entire game, everyone's afraid to just like be near this thing, and it is just like the danger zone. Nobody wants to go near it, and so I basically where everyone else in my other mech just moved around the entire map in like kind of a clockwise motion. This one guy, yeah, I was the absolute unit. Which, oh man, it's crazy what happened. So I just slowly inch from the starting table corner to the center, and we basically went through 12 rounds. And I'm going in and I'm slowly moving this guy. Everyone else is like firing back and forth. The Annihilator only shot twice in this game. So the big destruction, I'm going to like destroy you and turn you into a pothole mech, only shot, I think it was either twice or 3 times out of 12 rounds because no one wanted to be in anywhere near it or like line of sight to be able to shoot him. And two out of I think the 3 times I shot it, most of my shots were whiffs, but like in the end, like we're slowly popping everything off. Are there two dudes mechs dying? We are all of my and my other dudes mechs are just like Harold. We are the last two mechs on the floor because we had a couple other units on there. So me, I have one more unit left. I have the Annihilator still. He's super tanky. He's slow as hell, but he's tanky as shit. So I moved him onto the objective. I lose my other mech, and then the other guy loses his mech, who's on my team. And so we are left with two mechs in the objective with only 1 point of health each. And everyone else's mechs have like a couple more hits. So literally, we just hunker down in there and end up. What basically ended up happening is on the last couple of matches, the other team basically ended up conceding because no matter what ended up happening, we would have just outlasted them through pure attrition. And so it was super like it's just imagine like the most have the Metal Gear Solid music playing. You go dun 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 dun, dun, dun like that tense kind of like oh you don't know what's gonna happen like you're on the edge of your seat kind of thing, and you're rolling your dice, you're seeing what happens, and it was just it was super fun. It was super nice. It was also just good to see other people. After basically sitting in my room for most of. I mean, I don't go out a whole lot because one, it's the pandemic still. Two, when I want to actually see most of the people I want, it is a bit of a drive, which I'm trying to fix that because I want them to live with me and them to also be in a slightly better location for jobs and or traversal of the great state. But I'm working on that. But yeah, so it was cool. It was good to meet people, good to meet up with that guy who I knew in high school a little bit. So it was an extremely fun time. Um, Overall, just to do something and do it with people, meet some new people, and to finally like play these things. I've had these freaking models for I think like a half a year or a year now, and I haven't actually played the game with anyone. Like I've done test games, but like I just never got around to it, or like the times I tried, we never ended up playing it. So it was really fun, and yeah, it was definitely a hell yeah moment. It was fucking cool, um, and everything. Like I highly recommend checking it. Like you can find uh one of the things like at Barnes and Noble, and you want to just check out um a like simple. Again, it's cheap. It's fairly easily accessible. Like you can get the online free rules for Alpha Strike, which is the simpler, less complicated version. The starter set also does a thing where it's like a more streamlined version of the classic rule set, and then you get the more proper rules in the starter, like a game of Armored Combat, which both works as a tabletop intro box and a what we call where it's I am I am smart. I know things. Uh, a it's a good box. It is good. It is filled with good things, and you can play it as a board game or a tabletop game. That was the word I was thinking. That is the word I wanted. Yes, brain does good processes. I'm totally not addled by a shit ton of dyslexia and caffeine. Yeah, brain do be like that. It true. My brain be big, but sometimes the big brain get addled by like processes and information. Brain too big, brain have too much stuff. Need to file large chunks of brain into drawers so I can store them for later when I need brain parts. Thus, can categorize brain and make huge bulbous brain more manageable. Oh god. Every stream I make a big brain joke or thing. I guess that's just a meme I like. Um it's just big brainitude. But yeah, that was what Friday was like. Friday was very fun. Now I'm just gonna sit back into this nice corner where my brain or my face can be seen but not overtaking everything. And I'm going to start up my thingamabob. Yep, start that back up. And we can get to the Gods of War and plays the video games instead of the table. Oh god, that's loud. Jesus Christ.